Imagine discovering an ancient object buried for thousands of years that appears to use knowledge humanity supposedly didn't have yet. Gears before machines, precision before modern tools, technology that seems completely out of place in time. Historians call them anomalies, scientists call them unsolved, and some believe they are evidence that our understanding of the past is dangerously incomplete. Tonight, we explore ancient artifacts that appear to break the laws of time. Imagine standing at an archaeological dig site as the sun rises over the desert. The air is still, the sand is undisturbed, and then, beneath layers of earth untouched for thousands of years, something appears. Not a pot, not a tool, not a weapon, but a device. Something with symmetry, precision, moving parts. Something that should not exist in the era it was found. History tells us a simple story. That progress is linear. That humanity moves slowly, clumsily, from stone tools to bronze, from bronze to iron, and only very recently to machines. But scattered across museums, locked archives, and forgotten excavation reports are objects that quietly challenge that story. Artifacts that appear to arrive too early in time. Objects that suggest advanced understanding before advanced civilizations were supposed to exist. Discoveries that leave researchers uncomfortable, cautious, or completely silent. Some call them anomalies, others call them hoaxes, and a few dare to ask a more troubling question. What if our timeline of human knowledge is incomplete? What if ancient civilizations knew far more than we give them credit for? And what if that knowledge was lost, erased, or deliberately forgotten? Tonight, we explore ancient artifacts that appear to break the laws of time. Not legends, not myths, but real objects excavated, documented, and studied, whose existence raises questions modern science still struggles to answer. Our journey begins not in a temple or a tomb, but at the bottom of the sea. In the year 1901, a group of sponge divers off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera made a discovery that would quietly become one of the most unsettling archaeological finds in human history. Among the remains of a Roman era shipwreck lay corroded bronze fragments, unremarkable at first glance. They were collected, cataloged, and nearly ignored. But when researchers began examining the fragments more closely, they noticed something strange. Inside the corroded mass were gears, interlocking gears, precision-cut bronze gears, dozens of them, arranged in a complex system. At the time, such mechanical sophistication was believed to be impossible in the ancient world. Yet here it was, resting on the seabed for over 2,000 years. As scientists reconstructed the fragments, the implications became staggering. The device was not decorative. It was not symbolic. It was a machine capable of predicting astronomical events, solar eclipses, lunar cycles, planetary movements, with astonishing accuracy. In effect, it was an analog computer, built in ancient Greece around 100 BCE, before clocks, before telescopes, before the scientific method as we understand it. To this day, researchers still debate how such technology could have existed, and then disappeared completely. No earlier prototypes, no later descendants, as if the knowledge required to build it emerged suddenly and then vanished. And the Antikythera Mechanism is not alone. Across continents and millennia, other artifacts tell similar stories. In ancient Egypt, stone vases carved from granite and diorite display internal symmetry, so precise that even modern machining struggles to replicate them. Their walls are thin, perfectly curved, and polished to a mirror finish. Yet these objects were supposedly created with copper tools and sand, tools that should not be capable of producing such results. In South America, massive stone blocks weighing tens of tons were cut, transported, and fitted together with tolerances so tight that a blade cannot slide between them. No mortar, no gaps, no room for error. The stones appear molded rather than cut, and the methods used to shape them remain unknown. In Baghdad, a small clay jar discovered in the 1930s contained copper cylinders and iron rods sealed with asphalt. When filled with acidic liquid, the device generates an electric current. It predates modern batteries by nearly 2,000 years. Was it a power source? A medical device? A ritual object? or something else entirely. Then there are maps, ancient maps, that depict coastlines with alarming accuracy. Maps that show Antarctica ice-free. Maps that appear to reflect aerial or satellite-level perspectives long before flight existed. And when these artifacts are dismissed, explained away, or quietly removed from mainstream narratives, a pattern begins to emerge, not a conspiracy, but of discomfort, because these objects do not fit neatly into the established story of human progress. They suggest interruptions, lost chapters, technological peaks followed by collapse. They hint at civilizations that may have risen higher than we assume and fallen harder than we remember. And perhaps most unsettling of all, they raise the possibility that humanity has been here before, not in the same way, not with the same machines, but with knowledge that once rivaled our own, knowledge that time erased. As we continue, we will examine artifacts that challenge everything we think we know about the ancient world. Some will seem merely puzzling, others deeply disturbing, and a few may force us to reconsider the true age of human intelligence. This is not a story about aliens. It is not a story about fantasy. It is a story about evidence, and what that evidence may be trying to tell us. As the Antikythera Mechanism challenged our understanding of ancient intelligence, it also revealed something else, something far more troubling. If a machine this advanced could exist 2,000 years ago, then it did not emerge in isolation. It implies a tradition, a lineage of knowledge, teachers, craftsmen, and thinkers who understood mathematics, astronomy, metallurgy, and mechanical engineering at a level far beyond what history credits them for. And yet, outside of the single device, that tradition appears to vanish. No manuals, no workshops, no surviving descendants. It is as though the technology was deliberately abandoned or wiped away. To understand whether this was an exception or part of a larger pattern, we must look beyond the Mediterranean and into the heart of ancient stone. In Egypt, long before the rise of classical Greece, craftsmen carved vessels from some of the hardest stone known to geology: granite, basalt, diorite. These are not soft materials. They rank among the hardest substances available in nature. Even today, shaping them requires diamond-tipped tools and high-speed machinery. Yet the ancient vessels display symmetry so exact that modern engineers struggle to explain how they were made. Their interiors are hollowed with perfectly concentric curves. Their walls maintain uniform thickness from top to bottom. Their surfaces are polished to an almost reflective sheen. These were not crude containers. They were precision objects. The problem is not that ancient Egyptians lacked skill. It is that the tools attributed to them, copper chisels and stone abrasives, should not be capable of producing such results. Experimental archaeologists have attempted to recreate these vessels using historically accepted methods. The results fall far short. Tool marks are inconsistent. Symmetry is imperfect. The time required becomes impractical. And yet, thousands of such objects exist, stored quietly in museum basements, rarely displayed, rarely discussed, because they raise an uncomfortable question. What tools were actually used? Some researchers propose lost techniques. Others suggest machinery made from materials that did not survive. And a few argue that the ancient world possessed technological knowledge that has since been forgotten. This pattern repeats itself in stone architecture across the globe. In Peru, massive stone blocks form walls that curve and interlock with such precision that they appear almost fluid. Each stone is uniquely shaped, fitted perfectly to its neighbors like a three-dimensional puzzle. No two blocks are the same. This is not mass production. It is extreme customization. The stones weigh tens of tons. Some exceed 100 tons. They were quarried, transported across uneven terrain, lifted, rotated, and placed without iron tools, wheels, or draft animals. And once placed, they were shaped further, fitted so tightly that even today, engineers cannot insert a sheet of paper between them. Earthquakes that flatten modern buildings leave these structures standing. Their design absorbs seismic energy in ways modern science only recently began to understand. This is not primitive construction. It is advanced engineering, and it appears in cultures separated by oceans, languages, and time. In Japan, similarly precise stone foundations support ancient castles. In India, Temples carved directly from solid rock display symmetry and scale that challenge conventional explanations. In Lebanon, the stones of Baalbek weigh over 1,000 tons, among the largest blocks ever moved by humans. The official explanations rely on manpower and ingenuity, but when examined closely, they strain credibility, because ingenuity alone does not explain mathematical precision, nor does manpower explain logistical impossibility. The stones themselves tell a different story, one of forgotten techniques, of tools we no longer possess, or of knowledge deliberately omitted from the historical record. And then there are objects that suggest something even stranger, not just advanced engineering, but advanced science. In the 1930s, during railway construction near Baghdad, workers uncovered small clay jars sealed with bitumen. Inside were copper cylinders surrounding iron rods. When replicas of these jars were filled with acidic liquid, vinegar, wine, lemon juice, they produce an electrical charge, low voltage but measurable, enough to power small electrochemical processes, enough to plate metals, enough to suggest an understanding of electricity nearly 2,000 years before its supposed discovery. The objects became known as the Baghdad batteries. There is no consensus on their purpose. Some dismiss them as coincidence. Others argue ritual use. But the design is undeniable. It functions. And it raises another question. If ancient people understood electricity, even at a basic level, what else did they understand? Evidence of advanced chemistry appears elsewhere as well. Ancient pigments, such as Egyptian blue, were not natural dyes. They were synthetic compounds requiring precise temperature control and chemical knowledge. Once lost, these pigments could not be recreated for centuries. Roman concrete, used in harbors and breakwaters, grows stronger over time when exposed to seawater. Modern concrete degrades under similar conditions. Only recently have scientists begun to understand why. The ancient formula included volcanic ash that triggered long-term crystallization, processes modern engineers failed to replicate for nearly 2,000 years. This was not accidental. It was deliberate material science. And yet, like so many other ancient technologies, it disappeared. The knowledge was not passed down. It was lost to time, or perhaps lost to something else. As we move forward, we will encounter artifacts that suggest ancient people did not merely build with stone and metal, but observed the skies, mapped the earth, and tracked time with precision that rivals modern instruments. Objects that challenge not only our understanding of technology, but our understanding of history itself. Long before satellites orbited the Earth, long before aircraft crossed the skies, ancient maps were already charting the world with a level of accuracy that continues to puzzle modern cartographers. One such map surfaced in 1513, created by an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis. At first glance, it appears unremarkable, a fragmentary nautical chart drawn on parchment. But when scholars examined it closely, something unsettling emerged. The map depicts the coastlines of Africa and South America with striking precision. More troubling still, it appears to show Antarctica, not as it exists today, buried beneath miles of ice, but as a landmass with visible coastlines, ice-free. Geological studies suggest Antarctica has not been free of ice for at least 6,000 years, possibly far longer. And yet, the Piri Reis map was compiled using much older source materials, maps the admiral himself claimed were inherited from ancient civilizations long lost. Some researchers argue coincidence. Others say misinterpretation. But when the map is overlaid with modern satellite imagery, alignments appear that are difficult to dismiss. Mountain ranges, river systems, coastal contours. They line up too well. And the Piri Reis map is not unique. The Orontius Phineas map, created in the 16th century, also depicts Antarctica with rivers, mountains, and an internal geography that matches what modern radar now reveals beneath the ice. How could this information exist before the technology required to obtain it? Surveying coastlines with such precision requires a vantage point above the earth. It requires trigonometry, spherical geometry, and advanced measurement techniques. It suggests not just observation, but comprehension. And this raises a disturbing possibility. that ancient civilizations may have possessed knowledge of the Earth as a globe long before this idea entered mainstream history, or worse, that this knowledge was inherited from an even earlier source, a civilization whose memory survives only in fragments, stories of a golden age, of a time before floods, of advanced people destroyed by catastrophe. These stories appear again and again across cultures that never met. In Mesopotamia, in Egypt, in Mesoamerica, they speak of a time when gods walked among humans. But what if those gods were not divine? What if they were simply the last survivors of a lost advanced civilization? Artifacts linked to astronomy deepen this mystery. At sites like Stonehenge, Nabta Playa, and Göbekli Tepe, massive stone structures align perfectly with solstices, equinoxes, and stellar movements. These are not symbolic alignments. They are precise. They require long-term observation of the sky across generations. They require mathematical understanding. Göbekli Tepe, in particular, defies expectations. Dated over 11,000 years ago, it predates agriculture, writing, and permanent settlements. And yet, it features towering stone pillars arranged in deliberate geometric patterns, carved with intricate reliefs, constructed by people who, according to conventional history, should have been nomadic hunter-gatherers. No villages, no farms, no metal tools, and yet monumental architecture. The implications are staggering. Either our understanding of early human societies is deeply flawed, or something important is missing from the story. The precision of these sites suggests more than ritual. They suggest knowledge of cycles, celestial cycle, precession, time keeping on scales far beyond a single human lifetime, knowledge that implies planning, coordination, and a reason. Then there are artifacts that appear to encode information in ways that feel strangely modern. In ancient Mesopotamia, clay tablets describe mathematical systems based on base 60, a system still used today to measure time and angles. These tablets reveal calculations of square roots and complex fractions. In some cases, the precision rivals modern mathematics. In the Indus Valley, standardized weights and measurements appear across vast regions, consistency that implies centralized planning and strict regulation. And yet, the civilization that created them vanished. No clear signs of invasion, no definitive evidence of collapse, just disappearance, as if time itself swallowed them. And scattered among these puzzles are objects that seem almost anachronistic, ancient lenses capable of magnification, precision-drilled holes in hard stone with spiral tool marks identical to those produced by modern drilling equipment, metal alloys whose composition suggests controlled processes rather than accidental mixtures. Each artifact alone can be dismissed, but together they form a pattern of technological peaks followed by silence, of knowledge gained and then lost, as if human history is not a straight line upward, but a series of rises and falls, advancement, collapse, forgetting, and relearning. As we continue, we'll confront artifacts that suggest ancient people not only observed the world, but understood forces we consider modern: energy, sound, even the manipulation of matter itself. If ancient civilizations truly possessed advanced knowledge, then traces of that understanding would not be limited to stone and metal alone. They would appear in how ancient people manipulated forces we only recently began to study: sound, vibration, pressure, and energy. And in certain places around the world, the evidence points exactly there. In South America, deep within the Andes, massive stone chambers exhibit acoustic properties so precise they appear engineered. At sites like Ollantaytambo and Chavín de Huántar, sound behaves in ways that defy expectation. A single clap echoes unnaturally. A whisper travels across vast distances. Certain frequencies seem amplified while others vanish. Modern acoustic engineers studying these structures have confirmed that their geometry alters sound waves in controlled ways, not accidentally, deliberately. At Chavín, a complex network of underground tunnels channels water beneath stone floors. When water flows through these passages, it produces a roaring sound, one that can be felt through the body. Some researchers believe the builders understood how sound and vibration could affect human perception, that these sites were not merely ceremonial, but psychological machines. In ancient Egypt, similar mysteries emerge. Within the Great Pyramid, chambers and passageways resonate at specific frequencies. Granite blocks, rich in quartz, line critical areas. Quartz is known for its piezoelectric properties. Under pressure or vibration, it generates electrical charge. Some researchers suggest the pyramid was designed not just as a tomb, but as a structure that manipulated energy. This idea is controversial. Mainstream archaeology rejects it, but the measurements remain, the alignments remain, and the materials remain. In India, ancient temples were built using stone that rings like metal when struck, columns that produce musical tones, architectural layouts designed to amplify sound during rituals. Again, coincidence is often cited, but coincidence becomes less convincing when it repeats across continents. Then there are the vitrified forts. Across Scotland and parts of Europe, ancient stone forts display evidence of intense heat, so intense that the stone itself melted and fused together. Vitrification requires temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius. Such heat is difficult to achieve even with modern technology. There is no clear explanation for how ancient people accomplished this. Some suggest ritual burning. Others propose defensive techniques. But experiments attempting to recreate vitrification have failed to produce the same results, which leaves a troubling possibility. That ancient people understood high-energy processes we no longer recognize. Even more perplexing are objects that suggest an understanding of magnetism. In Mesoamerica, magnetized artifacts have been found in contexts far older than the supposed discovery of magnetism. In China, ancient lodestones were used for navigation centuries before the magnetic compass was thought to exist. The knowledge appears scattered, fragmented, as if remnants of a once cohesive understanding survived in isolated pockets. And then there are artifacts that seem to encode information in ways eerily similar to modern data storage. The Disc of Phaistos, discovered in Crete, features stamp symbols arranged in a spiral. It is unlike any other writing system. No one has successfully decoded it. The symbols appear standardized, suggesting mass production, but mass production implies tools, processes, intent. What was it meant to record? And why was the method never repeated? In South America, the quipu knotted cords used by the Inca encoded complex numerical and possibly narrative information. Recent research suggests quipu could store far more data than previously believed. A form of physical information storage, non-written, yet highly sophisticated. If these interpretations are correct, then ancient people were not merely recording information. They were engineering systems to store and transmit it. But knowledge transmission requires continuity, and continuity appears to have been interrupted. Flood myths offer one explanation. From the Epic of Gilgamesh to the stories of Noah, Manu, and Viracocha, ancient cultures describe catastrophic floods that erase civilizations. These stories are often dismissed as metaphor, but geological evidence suggests massive flooding events occurred at the end of the last ice age. Sea levels rose rapidly. Coastal settlements vanished. If an advanced civilization existed near ancient shorelines, it would now lie underwater, erased not by time, but by water, and what survives would be fragments. Isolated artifacts found far from their original context, objects that confuse us because the world that made them no longer exists. As we move forward, we will examine discoveries that suggest this cycle may not have been unique, that humanity may have reached advanced stages before, and that what we call modern knowledge may be older than we think. As the pattern of strange artifacts grows clearer, a deeper question begins to surface. Why was this knowledge lost? Civilizations do not simply forget how to build, calculate, or observe the sky unless something interrupts them. Something sudden, something catastrophic. Across the ancient world, evidence points to periods of abrupt collapse, moments when societies vanished far faster than slow decline would allow. In the eastern Mediterranean, the late Bronze Age collapse erased multiple advanced civilizations within a single century. Writing systems disappeared. trade networks shattered. Cities were abandoned. Knowledge that took centuries to accumulate vanished almost overnight. In the Indus Valley, one of the most sophisticated urban cultures of the ancient world, dissolved with little trace of violence. Their cities were carefully planned. Their sanitation systems rivaled modern standards. And then they were gone. No clear explanation remains. In Mesoamerica, the Maya developed advanced mathematics, astronomy, and architecture. They tracked celestial cycles with incredible accuracy. Yet many of their great cities were abandoned. Stone structures left to be reclaimed by jungle, not destroyed, simply deserted. These collapses share a haunting similarity. They appear sudden, widespread, and incomplete. Enough survived to confuse future generations, but not enough to preserve the full story. This creates a troubling possibility. That advanced knowledge is fragile, that it does not rise endlessly, but peaks and falls, and that our modern assumption of continuous progress may be an illusion. Among the most controversial discoveries supporting this idea are objects known as out-of-place artifacts. Artifacts found in geological layers far older than the civilizations to which they are attributed. Metal tools encased in solid rock. Precision machine objects discovered in coal seems millions of years old. Skeptics argue contamination or misinterpretation, and in many cases, those explanations may be valid. But not all cases are easily dismissed. Some artifacts were documented by reputable scientists. Some were photographed, cataloged, and then quietly forgotten, removed from public discussion, not because they were proven false, but because they had no acceptable explanation. Then there's the question of timekeeping. Ancient calendars track cycles that extend far beyond human lifespans. The Maya long count calendar measures time across millions of years. It is not concerned with kings or battles. It is concerned with cosmic cycles. Precession, a slow wobble of Earth's axis that takes nearly 26,000 years to complete. This cycle was unknown to Western science until the modern era. And yet, ancient monuments encode it. The alignment of temples, the orientation of pyramids, the placement of stone circles, all seem designed with long-term celestial shifts in mind. Who builds monuments to track time scales no single generation will ever witness? Only a culture confident in continuity, or one trying to preserve knowledge across deep time. Then there are the legends. Plato spoke of Atlantis, a technologically advanced civilization destroyed in a single day and night of catastrophe. He claimed the story came from much older Egyptian records that no longer exist. Around the world, similar stories appear. Advanced societies, sudden destruction, survivors who carry fragments of knowledge to less advanced peoples, civilizations starting over, again and again. If these stories reflect real events, then ancient artifacts that appear to break the laws of time may not be anomalies at all. They may be survivors, echoes of previous cycles, technologies not ahead of their time, but left behind by it. This reframes the mystery entirely. Instead of asking how ancient people achieved advanced knowledge, we must ask why they lost it, and whether we are destined to do the same. Because if history is cyclical, if civilizations rise, peak, and collapse, then our modern world may not be as unprecedented as we believe, and the artifacts of our own time may one day confuse future archaeologists just as much. As we approach the final chapters of this story, we must confront the implications, not of ancient genius, but of human vulnerability. Standing among the fragments of these ancient mysteries, one truth becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. The past is not silent. It is speaking to us through stone, metal, and patterns we are only beginning to recognize. The artifacts that appear to break the laws of time do not shout their secrets. They whisper. They wait patiently in museum drawers, in forgotten excavation reports, in places where curiosity faded and certainty took its place. And perhaps that is why they remain so unsettling, because they challenge more than dates and diagrams. They challenge our confidence. Modern civilization rests on the belief that we are the most advanced society to ever exist, that we stand at the peak of a long, upward climb. But the evidence scattered across ancient ruins suggests something far less comforting. That advancement is temporary, That knowledge can be lost. That progress is not guaranteed. Consider how fragile our own systems are. Electric grids, digital archives, satellites orbiting above the Earth. Remove energy and much of modern knowledge becomes inaccessible. Remove continuity and even memory fades. Stone survives. Metal corrodes slowly. But digital data disappears in an instant. If our civilization were to collapse tomorrow, what would remain thousands of years from now? Fragments, objects without context, machines without manuals. Future archaeologists might find remnants of technology that appear impossible for our time, just as we now do with the ancient world. This perspective transforms how we view the artifacts of the past. They are no longer impossibilities. They are warnings. Warnings that intelligence does not prevent collapse, that mastery of technology does not guarantee survival, and that the line between advanced and forgotten is thinner than we imagine. Some researchers believe that ancient people understood this, that they intentionally encoded knowledge into monuments and materials designed to last. Stone circles that track the heavens, pyramids aligned with stars. Myths passed orally across generations, not as stories, but as storage, a way to preserve essential knowledge when everything else fails. And yet, even these methods are imperfect. Languages change. Symbols lose meaning. What remains are questions. But questions are powerful. They force us to look again, to doubt comfortable assumptions, to listen more carefully. The artifact that appear to break the laws of time remind us that history is not a finished book. It is an unfinished investigation, one where certainty is dangerous and curiosity is essential. Perhaps the greatest mistake we can make is to believe we already know how the story ends. Because if the past teaches us anything, it is that endings are rarely permanent. Civilizations fall, knowledge fragments, and somewhere in the rubble, clues survive, waiting. As the night deepens and the ruins grow quiet, the question lingers. Are these ancient artifacts evidence of lost genius? Or are they messages sent forward through time, not from the future, but from a past far more complex than we were taught, a past that still has much to teach us, if we are willing to listen? The more scholars examine these ancient anomalies, the more a subtle shift begins to occur, not a revolution, not a public admission, but quiet reconsideration. In recent decades, new technologies, ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, high-precision dating methods, have begun revealing structures and artifacts that were invisible before. Entire cities beneath jungles, road networks hidden under deserts, geometric patterns beneath the ocean floor. The past is not changing, but our ability to see it is. In Cambodia, LiDAR scans revealed vast urban complexes surrounding Angkor, suggesting a population far larger and more technologically organized than previously believed. In the Amazon rainforest, similar scans uncovered massive earthworks, geoglyphs carved into the landscape, invisible from ground, visible only from above. Who were these people? How did they coordinate such projects? And why did their societies disappear? These discoveries echo an unsettling idea, that advanced organization may have existed repeatedly, only to be erased by time, climate shifts, or catastrophe. Ice core samples show periods of abrupt climate change, rapid warming, sudden cooling, events capable of destabilizing even the most sophisticated societies. And when stability collapses, knowledge collapses with it. Libraries burn, specialists die, infrastructure fails. Within a few generations, advanced techniques become myths, then legends, then silence. This may explain why ancient artifacts feel so out of place. They are survivors of bottlenecks in human history, moments when civilization narrowed, compressed, and restarted. And if this is true, then the timeline of human advancement is not a straight arrow. It is a spiral, moving forward, then looping back. The strange familiarity of ancient artifacts, the sense that they feel almost modern, may come from this repetition. We have been here before. Not exactly, but close enough to leave echoes. Consider metallurgy. Certain ancient metal objects show grain structures and alloy compositions suggesting controlled cooling and precise temperature management, processes that require experimentation. iteration, time. These techniques appear suddenly and then vanish, reappearing centuries later as new discoveries. Or the drilling marks found in ancient stone, perfect spirals, uniform spacing, identical to marks produced by modern machine drills, not hand tools, not random abrasion, mechanical rotation. How did ancient builders achieve this? The question lingers not because we lack imagination, but because we lack evidence of the tools, which may be the point. Tools decay, knowledge dies, stone remembers, and stone is what confuses us most, because stone should not lie. It does not exaggerate. It does not mythologize. It simply exists. And what it shows us does not always align with the stories we tell. Perhaps the greatest discomfort these artifacts cause is not technological, but philosophical. They force us to confront humility, to accept that intelligence is not unique to us, that innovation did not begin in recent centuries, and that human potential may have surfaced long before our written records begin. This does not diminish modern achievement. It contextualizes it, places it within a longer, deeper human story, one filled with brilliance and fragility. As the evidence accumulates, a new question replaces the old one. Not, how could ancient people do this? But why do we remember that they did? Memory is selective. History is curated. What survives is not always what mattered most. And so we are left with fragments, artifacts that feel displaced in time, objects that refuse to fit neatly into textbooks, silent witnesses to chapters that were never fully written down, or perhaps were written and lost. And as we continue to uncover more, beneath ice, beneath oceans, beneath forests, the past may grow stranger, not simpler. The mystery will not resolve. It will deepen, because the more we learn, the more it becomes clear that time does not erase everything. Some things endure, waiting for the moment when humanity is ready to ask better questions, and perhaps better answers. Beneath the waves, the past hides even more secrets. In 1968, off the coast of Japan, divers discovered what appeared to be natural rock formations. At first glance, the structures seemed ordinary, but closer inspection revealed straight edges, steps, and terraces carved with precision. Some formations are now called the Yonaguni Monument, massive stone blocks, weighing tens of tons, arranged in patterns that suggest intentional design. Horizontal platforms, right angles, staircases descending into the sea. Geologists debate. Archaeologists argue. Some claim natural erosion. Others insist on man-made origins. Yet the water preserves a mystery. Submerged thousands of years ago, before written history, before metallurgy in the region, and Japan is not alone. Across the globe, off the coast of India, divers have found circular structures beneath the Arabian Sea, stone platforms arranged in geometric grids, walls, channels, buildings. Radiocarbon dating of nearby sediments suggests these ruins are over 10,000 years old, long before the civilizations credited with architectural sophistication existed in the area. Even more astounding are the ruins off the coast of Cuba, underwater pyramids and massive stone blocks, aligned in ways that hint at astronomical observation. The precision of construction is uncanny. Echoing structures found thousands of miles away in Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Central America. These submerged cities force a troubling question. Could advanced civilizations have existed far earlier than we imagined, only to be lost beneath rising seas? Sea levels were dramatically lower during the last ice age. Vast coastal plains, once habitable, now lie underwater. Entire civilizations may have been drowned in a matter of generations. And the remnants we find, fragments, foundations, scattered artifacts, appear impossible for the supposed time. Perhaps these civilizations mastered knowledge we can only speculate about today. Astronomy, engineering, hydraulics, mathematics, all recorded in stone, metal, and geometry, surviving only because water and time preserved them where humans could not. And the pattern grows. In the Mediterranean, massive structures lie submerged near Crete and Santorini. Some suggest a link to the Minoans. Others see traces of something older, Pompeii preserved a snapshot of life in 79 CE. Akrotiri, buried in volcanic ash, gives hints of an advanced Bronze Age society. But beneath the waves, remnants of unknown settlements hint at something even older. Structures too precise, artifacts too advanced, tools we cannot identify, objects that break the linear story of progress. And when researchers attempt to catalog these artifacts, another pattern emerges. These discoveries are often ignored, contested, buried under debate, bureaucracy, or disbelief. Yet the evidence refuses to go away. It waits, silent, submerged, challenging us to see beyond conventional history. The past is not merely a timeline. It is a labyrinth, full of dead ends, false leads, and echoes. And in that labyrinth, some paths seem illuminated by the impossible. Artifacts and ruins that whisper, "You are not as modern as you think. You are not the first to reach this level." Knowledge can rise and fall in a heartbeat. If civilization can vanish beneath the waves or be erased by catastrophe, then the anomalies we find on dry land may only be fragments of a much larger, hidden story. And this hidden story forces us to reconsider the very nature of time in human history. Time, it seems, is not always linear, not always progressive. It is fractured, cyclical, and sometimes cruel, because civilizations rise. They peak, and then, almost without warning, they vanish, leaving behind only artifacts that seem to belong to another world. Across continents and millennia, objects appear that defy the timelines established by conventional archaeology. In Mexico, the Olmec civilization left behind colossal stone heads, some weigh over 20 tons, carved with astonishing precision, moved across vast distances without wheeled vehicles or draft animals. The methods remain unclear. The purpose, partially ceremonial, partially unknown. And yet, the craftsmanship suggests a culture far more capable than previously imagined. In Europe, a small bronze object discovered in a coal seam in Austria shocked metallurgists. Encased in rock estimated to be over 300,000 years old, the artifact resembled a modern-day mechanical component. Some see it as evidence of machining. Others claim contamination. Yet the object's existence cannot be easily dismissed. In South America, a set of strange metal rods was discovered in Chile, buried alongside tools of unmistakable antiquity. Upon examination, the rods displayed crystalline structures and alloys that modern metallurgists struggle to reproduce. The precision of their fabrication hints at knowledge of metallurgy far beyond what the local civilization supposedly possessed. Even more unsettling are certain spherical objects found in South Africa and Russia, smooth, perfectly round, composed of unusual alloys. Some appear naturally formed. Others show signs of deliberate shaping. The most remarkable feature, some of these spheres are magnetized. Magnetic orientation preserved across millennia. And then there are the so-called Dropa stones, reported in Tibet in the 1930s. Circular stone discs with tiny grooves spiraling from the center. When examined under magnification, the grooves appeared in code patterns, possibly language. Theories range from primitive records to extraterrestrial contact, but the groove precision is undeniable. In Germany, a small device dubbed a Stuttgart disc shows gear assemblies too intricate to be hand-carved, resembling parts from a modern watch. And in Baghdad, the Baghdad batteries continue to intrigue scientists. Ancient clay jars with copper cylinders and iron rods, producing measurable electrical charge when combined with acidic liquids. Could this have been a primitive power source? A form of electroplating? Or something else entirely? The recurring pattern is undeniable. Objects appear before their time. Techniques to create them are unknown. No direct successors or continuous knowledge. Many are hidden, ignored, or dismissed by mainstream scholarship. Individually, these artifacts can be explained away. Coincidence, misinterpretation, accidental resemblance. But together, across continents and thousands of years, they form a pattern that whispers. Human history may be far stranger than we are willing to admit. Consider the Antikythera Mechanism once more. It predicted astronomical events with precision unmatched for over a millennium. It demonstrates calculation, measurement, and recording far beyond its supposed era. Then pair it with other artifacts. Precision cut stones, magnetic spheres, metallurgical anomalies, submerged cities. The picture grows both clearer and more unsettling. Human knowledge appears intermittent, advanced, then lost, fragmented, then rediscovered. Perhaps these out-of-place artifacts are not anomalies. Perhaps they are the fingerprints of civilizations rising, peaking, and vanishing long before written history began. Or perhaps they are warnings. Silent messages etched in stone and metal. Knowledge is fragile. Time is not linear. Progress can be lost as quickly as it is gained. And some of these artifacts suggest one final possibility, that our understanding of ancient people is incomplete not just because records were lost, but because those civilizations were smarter, more capable, and more advanced than we dare to imagine. As we continue, we will examine the most shocking examples. Artifacts so precise, so advanced, that modern technology still struggles to replicate them. From tools too perfect for their era, to machines hidden in plain sight, to constructions whose engineering principles are still being deciphered. These are the relics that make you question everything you thought you knew about human history. In Turkey, near the ruins of Göbekli Tepe, archaeologists discovered massive stone pillars carved with intricate reliefs. The carvings depict animals, symbols, and patterns that suggest a knowledge of astronomy and mathematics far beyond what we would expect from a hunter-gatherer society. Some pillars weigh as much as 50 tons. And yet, the layout of the site demonstrates advanced understanding of geometry. The alignment of the pillars corresponds with the rising and setting of certain stars over thousands of years. No wheels, no metal tools, no written instructions. And yet, the structures remain perfectly aligned. Thousands of miles away, in the deserts of Egypt, the Great Pyramid at Giza showcases similar mastery. Blocks weighing tons are positioned with astonishing precision, forming chambers and passages aligned with the cardinal points. The precision is so high that some stones have gaps narrower than a single sheet of paper. Inside, the king's chamber is lined with granite blocks rich in quartz. Some scientists speculate that the pyramid may have been designed to harness energy in ways we still do not fully understand. Not as a tomb alone, but as a device, an experiment in physics, sound, and vibration. Across the globe in Peru, the Inca constructed walls with stones that fit together so perfectly that not even a knife can slide between them. Massive stones, some weighing more than 100 tons, were cut, transported, and assembled with a precision that modern engineers struggle to replicate. And yet, they had no iron tools, no wheels, no written engineering manuals. Consider also the Roman concrete used in ancient harbors. Exposed to seawater for centuries, it grows stronger over time. Modern science has only recently begun to understand why. Volcanic ash reacts with seawater to form crystals that reinforce the structure. Thousands of years later, we are still trying to replicate it. Then there are the metal artifacts that defy logic. High-precision iron implements discovered in Egypt, dating back thousands of years, polished to perfection, their edges sharp enough to cut modern steel. Or the small gold artifacts from South America, shaped with such skill that even modern jewelers marvel at the craftsmanship. Some exhibit techniques that suggest lost knowledge of metallurgy and material science. Even more astonishing are objects that seem designed for purposes we cannot identify. In Baghdad, the so-called Baghdad batteries could generate electricity. In Tibet, the Dropa stones encode spiral inscriptions that may represent language or data storage. In Germany, small bronze discs resemble mechanical components of modern machinery. And these are just a few examples. The consistent thread is unmistakable. Humans, long before the modern era, created artifacts with precision, complexity, and sophistication far beyond what conventional history allows. Some were practical, tools, machines, constructions. Some appear symbolic, etched with knowledge, coded in materials, aligned with celestial events. And some remain entirely enigmatic, objects we cannot explain. Taken together, they paint a picture of human history that is neither simple nor linear, a history of peaks and collapses, of knowledge appearing, then disappearing, of civilizations rising, mastering complexity, and then vanishing almost entirely from the record. And perhaps the most unsettling implication of all is that the artifacts surviving today are just fragments, the parts that time and disaster allowed to endure. What we cannot see may have been far greater. And if these cycles repeat, if civilizations rise, peak, and fall, then our own era is not unique. Our modern technologies, our knowledge, our achievements may one day be reduced to fragments just as we now examine those of the past. The anomalies, the artifacts, the ruins, all of it challenges the very foundation of what we believe about human progress. It forces a simple, terrifying question. What else have we lost? And what might we never find? Across the globe, the evidence grows more unsettling. From the desert of Egypt to the jungles of South America, from the mountains of Tibet to the coast of Japan, fragments of human history suggest an intelligence far older and more sophisticated than textbooks admit. Consider the ancient Egyptian obelisks, some weigh over 500 tons, carved from single blocks of granite and transported miles from the quarry. The precision of the construction continues to challenge modern engineers. Some of these stones display markings suggesting advanced measurement tools, marks that could only have been made with devices capable of extreme accuracy, yet no such tools survive or are even mentioned in the historical record. Meanwhile, in South America, massive Incan stone walls continue to defy explanation. The stones are interlocked with incredible precision, shaped to fit one another without mortar, able to withstand earthquakes that would destroy modern concrete structures. And yet, the Incas lacked iron tools, pulleys, or wheeled transport. Even the raw skill involved is staggering. To cut, transport, and perfectly align stones weighing dozens of tons requires not just labor but knowledge, mathematics, and ingenuity. And then there are the anomalies of metallurgy. In multiple locations, including Africa, the Middle East, and Europe, ancient metal artifacts appear whose composition and craftsmanship surpass what the civilizations were believed capable of. Iron implements appear hardened in ways that require controlled heating techniques. Bronze alloys show exact ratios that modern metallurgists struggle to reproduce consistently. Gold objects are worked with such precision that they display properties akin to modern engineering standards. Even more disturbing are the objects whose purpose is mysterious. The Antikythera Mechanism, discovered at the bottom of the Aegean Sea, is perhaps the most famous example. A complex system of interlocking bronze gears capable of predicting eclipses, tracking planetary motion, and encoding astronomical cycles with astonishing accuracy. It existed over 2,000 years ago, before the telescope, before mechanical clocks capable of such precision, and it did not leave descendants. The knowledge to create it appears suddenly, and then disappears from history entirely. Across Asia, similar enigmas exist. The Dropa stones of Tibet, circular discs with grooves etched in spirals, may encode information, yet their language is undeciphered. Metal rods buried in Chile and South Africa display alloys and crystalline structures impossible to recreate without modern technology. The pattern is undeniable. Artifacts appear ahead of their time. Technologies emerge, peak, and vanish. Structures rise with sophistication beyond the supposed capabilities of their builders. Yet, in nearly every case, continuity is missing. Progress does not flow linearly. It is punctuated by gaps, collapses, and abrupt resets. Submerged cities further complicate the story. The Yonaguni Monument off Japan, massive stone terraces, staircases, and platforms lie beneath the ocean, preserved for millennia. The structures are so regular, so geometrically precise, that natural erosion alone cannot explain them. Thousands of miles away, the sunken ruins off Cuba, India, and the Mediterranean hint at entire civilizations erased by rising seas and catastrophic events. Flood myths recorded worldwide, from Atlantis to the Epic of Gilgamesh to the stories of Manu and Noah, may reflect a collective memory of these lost societies. Could advanced human civilizations have existed before recorded history? And were they erased by nature, disaster, or other forces? The evidence grows even stranger when we consider astronomy and timekeeping. Göbekli Tepe, over 11,000 years old, is older than agriculture, older than writing, yet its pillars are arranged with precision aligning to stellar patterns. Stonehenge, Nabta Playa, and other megalithic sites across the world show alignment with solstices equinoxes, and star positions with remarkable accuracy. This implies long-term observation, mathematical skill, and the ability to encode knowledge across generations. Mathematics, too, appears ahead of its time. The Babylonians developed base 60 calculations over 4,000 years ago. Some clay tablets show computations of square roots and complex fractions. The Indus Valley civilization standardized weights and measurements with incredible consistency across vast regions. And yet, these civilizations vanished. Why? Archaeological and geological evidence points to abrupt climate shifts, floods, earthquakes, and other disasters. Knowledge, however advanced, is fragile. Without societal continuity, sophisticated techniques disappear. Artifacts like the Baghdad batteries suggest an understanding of electricity nearly 2,000 years before it was discovered. Ancient lenses indicate magnification and optical knowledge. Precision drilled holes in hard stones replicate techniques modern engineers struggle to achieve. Even more subtle are acoustical and vibrational designs. Chavin de Huantar in Peru produces sound effects that manipulate perception. Granite pillars, channels, and chambers carry vibration in ways that may have influenced ceremony or consciousness. The Great Pyramid's internal chambers resonate at frequencies interacting with granite's piezoelectric properties. These examples hint at advanced physics knowledge entirely lost to history. And then there is mapping. The Pyrie Reis map from 1513 shows the coastlines of continents with alarming accuracy, even depicting Antarctica ice-free. The Orontius Phineas map of the 16th century confirms similar observations. These maps suggest knowledge of the Earth's shape, coastlines, and celestial positioning far before such science was believed possible. The global picture is clear. Knowledge emerges unexpectedly. Technology appears far ahead of its time. Civilizations vanish. Artifacts remain. Some of these objects are practical, some symbolic, some entirely enigmatic. Yet together, they point to a pattern of intermittent brilliance. Civilizations rise. They master skills we cannot explain. They collapse. And fragments remain, taunting us, whispering truths lost to time. This perspective forces a profound philosophical reflection. Progress is fragile. Intelligence does not prevent collapse. Knowledge can vanish faster than it is created. The artifacts are reminders. Stone preserves memory. Metal outlasts civilizations. Water erases cities. Time is not linear. History is cyclical. And humanity's peak is never guaranteed. As we examine these anomalies, we must confront a humbling thought. We may not be the first civilization to reach remarkable heights. We may not even be the most advanced ever. The artifacts surviving today, gears, stones, metals, ruins, are fragments of a much larger, lost story. A story interrupted by catastrophe, climate, or the simple fragility of human memory. And yet, even in fragments, the story persists. It challenges us. It humbles us. It inspires us to look beyond textbooks, beyond assumptions, and to embrace curiosity. Because the past is not silent. It speaks in stone. It hums in metal. It whispers through ruins beneath the waves. And the more we listen, the clearer it becomes. Human history is stranger, deeper, and more mysterious than we have been taught. We are not at the pinnacle. We are part of a long, winding story. One of rise and collapse, of brilliance and oblivion, of knowledge gained and knowledge lost. The question that remains is simple and terrifying. How much have we forgotten? And how much more remains hidden, waiting to be discovered? Perhaps the most important lesson these artifacts impart is this. Curiosity is eternal. Knowledge is fragile. And civilization, no matter how advanced, must always respect the passage of time. Because even the most brilliant achievements can vanish, leaving behind only whispers of a forgotten age. If this journey through lost civilizations, impossible artifacts, and ancient technologies has amazed you, imagine what else remains hidden beneath the sands, oceans, and ruins of our world. Subscribe now and join us at Ages Past, where every week we uncover the mysteries that history didn't want you to know. Hit the like button if these discoveries shook your understanding of the past, and leave a comment below telling us which artifact or mystery you found the most impossible. And don't forget to turn on notifications. Because the story of humanity's lost knowledge doesn't end here. There's always more waiting to be uncovered. Together, we can piece together the fragments of a forgotten world, one discovery at a time.